leaves the house.
GearWebsites.com is your source for firearms-based playing cards and books. We also have mugs, shirts, and posters with designs that we've made live. Of course, we have patches. Every Friday is Free Patch Friday. We appreciate your support. Thank you for shopping at GearWebsites.com.
It's 11:59 at Radio Free America, and this is Uncle Sam with music and the truth until dawn. Right now, I got a few words for some of our brothers and sisters in the occupied zone. The chair is against the wall. The chair is against the wall. John has a long mustache. John has a long mustache. It's 12 o'clock, Americans, another day closer to victory. And for all of you out there on or behind the lines, this is your song.
Welcome, everybody, to our Daily Gun Show. We come to you live every weeknight at midnight Eastern and talk about guns for an hour, and eventually I'll find the thing that I'm looking for. Oh, no, that's not what I'm looking for. That's weird. It only brought up one thing. So we're going to close this and try that again without talking, because obviously if I talk and type at the same time, it doesn't work. So do it that way, and there we go. So now we've got the screen up the where it normally is, so nobody's confused or concerned that the screen isn't the way it normally is. We've got a couple of things going on the screen here, but as we start to look around, we'll say thanks to everybody who joins us live. We run these shows live each evening at midnight Eastern. Each night we we have a different focus, and on Tuesdays, it's the Second Amendment. Each week, we feature a different state, and we talk about what that state did or is doing or has done. And eventually, we may even get to the point where we're paying attention to some of the situations that they've got going on there. We're basically just been giving you a static report without a lot of useful data. But as we get a Every Second Matters project, the enhanced version 2 of Every Second Matters underway. The results of that will provide more useful insight to the current status of some of these states as far as their Second Amendment status. Anyhow, so we look at states each month or each week, and each week you decide, the people who join us live. I probably should have wiped my thing off. I got mango everywhere. The people that watch us live are going to pick what state we're going to look at next week. So this week, we're looking at the state of chocolate, where the chocolate was invented and comes from. So everyone knows it's also where pencils come from. So we're talking about Georgia. Pennsylvania. So we're going to be talking about Second Amendment stuff that happened in Pennsylvania. A lot of people are going to say to themselves, nothing happened in Second Amendment in Pennsylvania, but there was a couple of things, and we'll talk about them. And the people that joined us live tonight will also be able to determine the fate of next week's show and what state we'll be talking about next week. So thanks to everybody again who's showing up live. Let's take a look at your choices for next week's topic, state-wise. California, we have Oregon, we have Washington, and we have New York. So I am on the wrong account, so I can't see the status. I would have to vote, and I don't want to screw with the votes, so I'm going to come over here and change my account, because I'm willing to do that to make a honest poll result here so that nobody's got any concerns that there's any thumbs on the scales. There we go. Eventually, this thing will come back to the right account, and we will see that with a number of votes that has yet to be displayed, we will. Why is this taking so long? Do I have a whole bunch of software running? It usually acts this way if I got a whole bunch of stuff going on. Oh, it's a dead heat between every single state on the list. So let's take a look at what every single state on the list is this week. California, I guess I already said. Oregon, Washington, New York. So maybe you're the fifth vote and you'll determine. Maybe you will be the one who determines what state we talk about next week. Maybe you're listening to this in the future, because I talk to the people in the future pretty much every night. If you're listening to this in the future and you're upset, like you're just really pissed right now because you didn't get to determine who or what state we're going to feature next week, guess what all you got to do is show up live. I'm not saying quit your job, right? I'm just saying take a long break. I don't know how many sick days you get. I don't want you to put your job in jeopardy or anything. On the other hand, there's an opportunity. We're live every night. And maybe have a proxy. Maybe you could talk to one of the people that shows up regularly. Defense Dad is out there. He might proxy for you and have a proxy vote, so to speak. Anyway, so we're got that poll out there. Feel free to participate in it and determine what we're going to talk about next week. We're going to be talking about Pennsylvania here in a minute. We also normally have a poll going on the channel, not on the video right here, but on the channel that would describe or would give people the option to vote on a 2A activist to talk about this Tuesday. However, somebody either scheduled 2 for next week or forgot to schedule 1 for this week or, you know, whatever. So if I had interns, I could blame them. It would be nice. So if I had interns, I could be yelling and screaming at them. I would throw things maybe. I wouldn't throw things at them, but I would throw things, right, to show how upset I am that this didn't get done. So because it didn't get done, we're going to go back to 6 days ago and look at the runner-up. Actually, we didn't even look at this last week. So last week, we asked Robin Sandoval, John Crump, Michael Schwartz, Juliana Crowder, or Timothy Weaver. Or did we think about this last week? And we did Robin Sandoval. Maybe we did Robin Sandoval. No, I don't remember. So we're going to go with Dr. Timothy Wheeler this week. So see how we're making lemonade. We're making, it's like if life gives you bacon, make baconade. So we're going to make some baconade out of that. Not out of Timothy Wheeler, but out of the fact that someone else voted for him earlier. All right. So I also have the calendar up. Those viewers who may be wondering, well, that's all well and good. We know that this is our chat over here, and we know that this is the live feed and whatever. What's this over here? Well, guess what this is? This is guncalendars.com. We have a bunch of different websites out there. One of them is focused on the calendar, both with 2A rallies, different industry events, and different things that go on in the community. Of course, we also look back at history and accomplishments, setbacks, inventions, births, passing away of some people, and inventions, if I already didn't say that one already. So we have a bunch of stuff to talk about in the calendar over here. I figured, why don't we start off the show today, since it is 2A, talk a little bit about stuff that's going on in the calendar. We missed a couple of things this week because it was already the first of the month. And typically the first of the month, we were kind of chatting about this last chat. The first of the month is when legislation will usually take effect, like such and such first of such and such month. So a lot of times we see the legislation take place on the first day of the month. So this month we had hunting in Louisiana, hunting with a suppressor in Louisiana become decriminalized in 2014. So that means they take an eraser to the laws that prohibit hunting with a suppressor and erase those laws. So now hunting with a suppressor it's up to you. If you want to, you can. If you don't have to, you don't. If you don't want to. And then Alaska set a prohibition on open carry. I actually should read that correctly. Alabama ended a prohibition on open carry, which is totally different than what I just said, August of 2013. So back in 2013, open carry had been prohibited. Remember, open carry was prohibited in a lot of the states, and then they got concealed carry. So we'll get the doom and gloomers. We'll get the people that are upset because everything isn't an easy win, or they get a setback, or they perceive that grass is greener, and they'll mope and grope. Well, one of the things we'll say is like, hey, we have 50 states with concealed carry, and we have 50 or half of those states, 50% of the states with constitutional carry. Well, we just assume, because we're thinking back to the wins there. We all have been online having conversations live when Illinois got constitutional carry. We've been having online conversations while Illinois residents have already had to renew those initial CCWs, right? So we've been kind of taken for granted the fact that first battle was open carry in many places. Hey, we have the right to have a gun, and maybe the state allows, maybe it doesn't, the concealed carry of a gun, but I'm going to carry my gun anyway with just out in the open. That's not concealed carry, therefore I can carry it around. Some states are like, of course, we don't, we only say you can't conceal carry, so that means we're not saying anything else. Other states were like, oh, no, wait, if we prohibit concealed carry, we of course also meant open carry, but they didn't write it down and say it, so everyone just, either had to change laws or just assume, it became a big cultural thing. So that open carry thing, when people hear about the open carry movement or the open carry auditors and stuff, some of that could potentially be echoes of those people who first did the open carry introductions. People that say, oh, open carry is an introduction to firearms for a community that might not be familiar with firearms, as a way to normalize firearms, as a way to show the variety and depth of firearms ownership and stuff, and the reasons why people carry, and that it's non-threatening and it's not a big deal. Other people say, oh no, it's a big deal, and it's going to confuse people, and they're going to get scared, and they're going to use this to lash out where normally they'd just be quiet. So if we don't bring it up, then they won't yell at us about it. So, we have different theories on it. But again, when the people who did open carry and successfully, in their minds, I'm sure, got states past that hurdle of guns are normal, or to the, over the hurdle, and now understand that guns are normal, so that normalized to the extent that concealed carry was good to go, and then even normalized even more to where constitutional carry. So in other words, states had to be normalized that guns are okay, or had to become aware that guns are okay, and then they got comfortable with people concealed carrying. Once they were comfortable with people concealed carrying, they decided, okay, it's comfortable. We're comfortable with people concealed carrying without any kind of permission granted by the state or requirements infringed on by the state. So now that people have lived, for Arizona's case, since 2010, so now 12 years, just literally the anniversary the other day. If you would go back one more day on this calendar, it would say July 30th or 31st or whatever it was, and that's when Arizona became constitutional carry, the second state to be constitutional carry in 2010. So that means that for 12 years, people that are in Arizona and people that know of Arizona have been comfortable or have become acclimatized to the idea of constitutional carry, that anyone who's legal to own a gun can carry the gun however they want. Now, it doesn't mean that everyone's going to exercise that right, but when everyone has that right, it means things. It means that society has to recognize that each other could be carrying a firearm. Most people don't give a shit about that, but criminals do. Criminals realize that, and criminals talk to each other. And if a criminal says, hey, where's the best place to be a criminal, to some other criminal, that answer might be somewhere where there's not a potential that the victim is going to have a gun and kill you for whatever you were about to do. It's not up to the victim to understand your intent. If you're about to hurt someone and they're in fear, they're going to react. And if you've instigated it, have a good night. So criminals aren't stupid. They know that stuff. And that's a consequence of constitutional carry and of concealed carry that nobody wants to talk about. But anyway, I guess, I don't know. I got myself going into nowhere there. So I'm reading text here and seeing that nobody's out there. So now I'm just chatting to myself, which is creepy and weird. So if anybody is out there, feel free to leave some comments. I see DJ's out there, and Defense Dad said something earlier. Wood said something earlier, but again, I just realized I've been sitting here for 15 minutes chatting to myself, which is creepy and not my goal. So we're just going to quit talking about the calendar. We'll be interactive when there's people to be interactive with. We got the 4 guys that are out there must have voted because we got the 4 votes. So we'll just quickly transfer over, or transition over to the podcast realm and just give you the deal on Pennsylvania. So I'm going to open up the 50 States at 2A, a book we put together in 2020 with the goal of offering 1 page per state, or 1 state per page. And if you can, I guess I need to open up my thing on the thing there. So if you look on the screen, if you are listening to this as a podcast, it's a small pamphlet size book. It's like a paperback, and it's half the size of a piece of paper, so 8x5 or something. And each page in the booklet has a different state on it. At the top is some information about the state, and then throughout the rest of the page, there's a bunch of illustrations and information about the organizations, the facilities or the infrastructure, the individuals, and the industry that's associated with the state. Pennsylvania's got a lot, so let's dig into it. At the beginning of the page, we start with when they were brought into the Union. So instead of having to bring it up, I'm going to try bringing the camera down and see how that works so we don't have to be wiggling around all day today. So they were brought into the Union on December 12th of 1787. Not too many of them in December, so I'm wondering what's up with that. At least I don't remember too many of them being in December. I read this thing through the screen, so I need to get it to where I'm focused. Okay, there we go. Then Pennsylvania, like a lot of states, has their own constitution, and like all but 9 of the states, they have a version of their own Second Amendment. So in Pennsylvania, it's Article 1, Section 21, and it's pretty short. The right of the citizens to bear arms in defense of themselves and the state shall not be questioned. Interesting. So that's an interesting take on it, and it's interesting that it's Section 21, but it is in Article 1. Moving on, we have some other characteristics that we'd like to compare the different states and give us some idea of their status. So open carry is legal in Pennsylvania without a permit. Concealed carry is been around since 1989, and it shall issue. Pennsylvania has 1,275,000 permits issued as of 2017. One of the things, additionally to the one state per page, one of the other things we have in this booklet is the number of concealed carry holders. So I'm looking through the sort of the supplemental info here and checking out, because 1,275,000 places Pennsylvania just below Florida with the second highest number of concealed carry permit holders in the United States. And I'm guessing that means Pennsylvania with 1,275,000 concealed carry permit holders might have the second highest level of concealed carry holders in the world, right? Is there any other states that have more permitted concealed carry holders? I doubt it. So that's pretty impressive, considering there's some states that are, you would think of potentially being more gun friendly than Pennsylvania. Potentially, but now you got to think twice. Constitutional carry? Not yet. Suppressors for hunting? No, not yet. Barbecue was actually just talking about that in his last chat. We'll take a moment here for barbecue and for woods for all the bacon that was lost. Okay. So they do have a state firearm in Pennsylvania. Guess what it is? The Pennsylvania rifle. They're so vain. They thought this song was about them, and that was established in 2014. So they got that going on. A lot of states didn't bother to ever do a state firearm. There's only 10 of them. Next up is their sanctuary sanctuary status, their Second Amendment sanctuary status. So there's allegedly there's 67 counties in Pennsylvania. 3 of those counties have Second Amendment sanctuary status. There are 10 townships though, and 2 boroughs. So although the 67 counties have not done anything for Second Amendment sanctuary status, it sounds like 10 towns and 2 boroughs have. I have no idea the distribution of that. This information comes from a place called, what is it called? It's called sanctuarycounties.com. We'll link to them on whatever state it is that they're from, but I'll just throw that out there. You know, we get this information from sources that pay attention to this stuff. Let's see. Next up is some of the infrastructure, some of the things, because there's quite a variety in Pennsylvania. We'll start off with the gunsmithing schools. There's the Pennsylvania Gunsmith School that was founded in 1949. If you look at all the gunsmith schools, I don't remember if they're in this book, but I do have some lists in some of the other publications of gunsmith schools. And it's interesting how so many of them were created after World War II. So government built a bunch of skill set, gave guys a bunch of training, interest in their skill trades or whatever, and then sent them loose, sent them home. And they needed to job train each other. And then I imagine at some point, career-wise, like as a generation career-wise, you probably see the creation of these schools in an attempt to transfer the knowledge to the next generation of tradesmen and women, tradespeople. Oh, snap. Oregon just took the lead. Everybody be careful. We're about to move the screen. What? Oregon just took the lead. It's now winning. So there is a fifth person potentially watching, or somebody in Oregon is faking it, or somebody in the Pacific Northwest is faking it. We don't know for certain. There's no aspersions being cast. We just know that all of a sudden, Oregon is in the lead out of nowhere. Wolf Precision was established in 2009, and that's a long-range shooting school in Somerset, Pennsylvania. There's also Penn Foster, an online learning gunsmithing class out of Scranton, which is across the hall from that paper company everybody knows about. So there's 3 different firearms instruction / gunsmithing kind of places in Pennsylvania. They've also got Camp Freedom, started in 2019 in Carbondale. We talked about it a little bit. I don't remember if it was whose chat it was. I've been in a lot of chats today. But earlier today, somewhere, I chatted about the idea of veterans groups supporting veterans, their families, and offering experiences, sometimes solitude, sometimes hunting, or something like a trip. And I believe that's what Camp Freedom is all about. There's a couple of those, and I apologize, I don't know all of those off the top of my head, but I did do some rudimentary effort to include them in the projects like this. Although, like I say, I apologize, I don't know enough about their actual histories. I just haven't had time to learn it yet. So next is the Interstate Trap Shooting Association, which this one's tough because it's a long time ago I did all this research, but the trap shooting, skeet shooting, well, trap shooting first, was one of the first shooting sports. It was the first shooting sport, I think. And it started a long, long time ago, 1892. Well, trap shooting started soon, just before that, but this Interstate Trap Shooting Association was founded in 1892, and it lasted through 1819. Then in 1819, it became the American Shotgun Association or something like that. So shotgunning has been, like a lot of things, of interest and less interest, popular, less popular, a lot of people involved, fewer people involved. Shotguns have been there the whole time. The people's amount of interest, society's focus on it, has fluctuated. And somewhere in there, either during peaks or famine, things changed and things moved. So sometimes things move because they're growing so big, it's time to upscale. Other times the other way around, it's time to move and downscale. I don't honestly remember what the circumstances were here. I believe it was a bunch of regional organizations combined into a national level. And again, I don't know if that was due to lack of participation or because there was so much participation and people were curious or interested in a national level consistency or whatever. Shotgun shooting is one of those things that people travel for. Some types of shooting people don't travel for. So that's a whole nother interesting conversation. Next up is the International Handgun Metallic Silhouette Association, the IHMSA, of course. Now that was created in Tucson, Arizona in 1976, and for some reason I have it here in Pennsylvania for some reason. So it must be in Pennsylvania now, maybe. But this was actually started at 3 points, a range that we used to shoot at all the time. So kind of neat, and it was interesting to find out that they moved to Pennsylvania, I guess. Got a couple of museums there, so I guess we'll go to the museums next. Pennsylvania's been around a long time. Second state in the Union. What? I guess I forgot to say this. They started on December 12, 1787. They were the second state. So Pennsylvania's like, blah, blah, blah. They're old. They've been around for a long time. They have old guns because the Pennsylvania rifle, remember? and museums, because been around for a long time. That means lots and lots of generations of people. So at some point in the history of Pennsylvania, the history of Revolutionary War rifles, the history of black powder rifles, the history of Pennsylvania rifles, you get the Eagle Americana Shop and Gun Museum. I wish I had more time because this is interesting. Maybe on Thursday we could talk about stuff like this. But this is a museum that I started to uncover and discover through internet research. It existed from 1965 to 1983 in Strasburg, Pennsylvania. Now, I haven't talked to anyone who might live around there and know anything about it. I just did all my research online. But this was super interesting because this was a guy who collected, and I forgot the deal, but let's say his wife let him. So he had like this museum. It turned his restaurant into a museum, or they built a building outside the restaurant, or something happened. They were like a business, and then some version of his wife let him turn his museum into a separate thing. And then it became somewhat popular enough that it existed from 1965 to 1983. That's a while. And it was a whole bunch of Pennsylvania guns, I think, or let's just say old guns like that. I've got some postcard evidence and some different pictures of the building and stuff, but nothing like nobody did a YouTube video back then because they were lazy back in 1965 to 1983, and almost no YouTube videos were filmed during that era. So I don't know much about it other than at some point the guy must have passed away or something, and the museum closed, and that collection was sold. And I don't think I really talk about it in here, but other museums were created and eventually faded, and then the collection moved on. So when we talk about firearms museums, one other conversation to have is about the collections themselves. So this was a collection of firearms that was amassed by one guy. It has a value, and because it's got a value and an inherent interest to the community, it didn't get separated. It stayed together, and people saw that they could create a museum around it. So let's buy the collection, keep it as a collection, as opposed to the son of a bitch move where you buy the collection and sell it to a bunch of individuals, and now that history is gone. They kept the collection together, and I think it went to Florida or something like that. But that would be an awesome conversation to have. One day, I'll be able to run this show all night, and we'll have people like this on to clear up little mysteries like this, little things that tell us about this collection that sounds infinitely interesting for people that like Pennsylvania guns, and the whole idea of people from Germany and people from England and people from wherever other countries they came from to the United States, and they said, hey, let's eat food together and let's drink together and whatever. And then they're like, why is your gun so wide? And that guy's like, why is your gun so long? And then they go, well, what if we made one that wasn't quite so wide and a little bit longer? And now we can beat the British because they suck, and our gun is way better than their gun. Our hybrid gun, what are we going to call it? I don't know. Let's call it a Pennsylvania rifle. And for a long time, that's what they called it, until Kentucky came along and went, hold on, hold my beer, hold my whiskey. And then I guess that's a whole nother debate. So this is some interesting stuff. And you don't even have to like the rifles to realize that these guns were made by artisans. This was before interchangeable parts. Colt hadn't been around yet. So these were guns that were, I'm going to take inspiration from that, and I'm going to create mine. And then people had their legacies, and then they had children, and their children were artisans and continued on the legacy and the tradition of their father, and maybe I adjusted it and whatever. You had to have long barrels for accurate. What the hell was that? You have to have long barrels for accuracy, right? Because these things were smooth bore. And just ultimately fascinating. We start to think about the mechanical differences and the design element differences, and then whatever little clicks were probably involved. Because, somebody was like, well, I like their gun, but I like the grip angle on Johann's rifle, right? I like the grip angle on, I don't know, somebody else's name, Yosef's rifle better. Like, oh no, that's a nice grip angle, but I don't like the way that he polishes his brass. What if a Frenchman seen my polished brass rear sight? I'm blah blah blah. That's the kind of talk that happened in the taverns back then. So that was this museum, and that's why I included it in here, even though I don't know that much about it. Super interesting, and that all happened in Pennsylvania. There's also a city called Philadelphia where they make cream cheese, and there's a river of cream cheese. They just basically put it into tubs and sell it to the rest of the world. They also have a museum there called the Keinenbusch Gallery of Arms and Armor, and many matchlocks where the lock and first lock. Anyway, so they have a museum there with a bunch of old-fashioned ornate guns. Again, artisans making the guns, and it costs like a lot of money. So I'm going to make it look fancy also. Well, kings and queens were like, well, that's nice, but mine has to look even fancier. And I think that's the kind of stuff that's here. That museum was started in 1977. If I ever get to that museum, that'll be nice. But I've been to Pennsylvania, or I've been to Philadelphia, and it was too busy for me. I didn't feel comfortable there. There was just too much going on. Like all the roads were closed. I was trying to get to this one restaurant, and I finally got to it because of all the stupid one ways, and I'm not used to that. And then when I got there, it was closed because 2 blocks away there was a parade. I'm like, so what if there's a parade 2 blocks away? You can't stay open for something that happens 2 blocks away. So anyway, I didn't like Philadelphia too much, but I guess I would go there if I happened to be back there again. Then there's the Pennsylvania Long Rifle Museum. Don't know anything about it. It says Nazareth. That must be a place. And then there's Gettysburg. You ever heard of Gettysburg, Pennsylvania? They have a National Military Museum with 100 guns. Wow. So that's a military museum in Massachusetts. 100 guns. You're going to pass 100 guns on your way to the gift shop at the J.M. Davis Museum, for crying out loud. Come on, man. That was created in 1895. 1895. That's before Gizzard Gary was born. Now we're going to take a look at some of the people in the state of Pennsylvania. We got Josh Prince from the Firearms Industry Consulting Group. He's a lawyer who does things. Some people like him. Some people aren't as impressed by him. Then you've got the Kentucky Rifle Association that started in 1961 in Valley Forge. I've heard of Valley Forge. So that's interesting. When you think of that, the Militia Act of 1903 created most of the state rifle and pistol associations. The hell, Pennsylvania, it took till 1961. Everybody else is doing your job of protecting the country, and Pennsylvania's like, oh yeah, I guess we should have a rifle association, since everybody else started one 61 years ago. They started the Ruffled Grouse, excuse me, Gizzard. The Ruffled Grouse Society, established in 1961 in a fake place called Carapolis. Fake. Then we have the PA2A.org. They've been around since 2012. I'm pretty sure I met that dude. A lot of organizations talk the big talk. This guy went to Gun Rights Policy Conference in Phoenix in 2019 with Clover and some other people who didn't need to spend that kind of money to go to Gun Rights Policy Conference in 2019. I've been to a lot of Gun Rights Policy Conferences. That's putting some effort into going to something that was unknown and honestly didn't pay off that much. So well done. Good people. And like I said, paid off in the fact that everybody knows who they are, because he showed up or whatever. I don't remember if he was with somebody. He might have been with other people, and I don't want to discount if there was a group of people there. I only met the one guy. Next, we have Annette Evans, who's at the Race Street Range. She's pretty awesome, and she does some Instagram stuff. I got to do better cartoons of some people. I don't really dig that cartoon. And then we got, what am I missing? Maj, who does, well, I guess we're going to go through the organizations next, and we'll meet everybody that way. So then we have Derringer, the guy who created a small revolver, or small guns, and now everybody calls everything small a Derringer a lot of times. That was an actual dude. His name was Harry, and he was alive from can't read my card, so if I didn't write it on there, I don't know. So basically that guy was alive a long time ago. Then you got Magnum Research. They moved to Minnesota in 2010. So are you going to explain to myself why the hell I put that at the top? Oh, I guess I don't like my order on this one, but if for whatever reason I put Magnum Research there. So actually they just got owned by, Car Arms bought them. So Car Arms existed, and then they moved Magnum Research from Minnesota to Pennsylvania. Car Arms moved from New York, where they were founded in 1995. They were bought and then moved to Pennsylvania in Pike County in 2015. And then IWI, which used to be IMI. So it used to be Israeli Military Industries, and now at some point they changed the name to IWI, Israeli Weapon Industries. They started their U.S. operations in Pennsylvania back in 2013. So that was an organization, a company that was selling stuff through like a middleman, selling stuff through an importer. And I guess at some point they decided, hey, we got enough potential here with all the little baby eagles and stuff they do Jerichos too, don't they? They did a couple of different guns. So they probably thought, instead of going through a middleman, let's just create our own base operations. And I don't know the deal. Maybe they decided, let's make a 380 in the United States, and therefore we need some retail space there so that we don't have to import it. That Josh Prince guy does a thing called the Firearms Industry Consulting Group that started in 2013. So sort of a bunch of attorneys that are focused on gun industry related stuff. So manufacturers, gun shops, interactions with the government agencies that enforce and regulate. I think that's what they do. And then some awareness. It's frustrating because this guy hangs out with people that are unscrupulous and I don't respect. So I don't know too much about this guy because of who he hangs out with. Then we've got Professional Outdoor Media Association, POMA, started in 2005. I don't know where Johnston is, but for some reason I always thought POMA was somewhere in the South. So that was kind of interesting for me to learn that POMA is a way for media folks to be in contact with the industry in a professional level. It's pretty cool. So if you're a writer or not so much YouTube, mostly writer, photographer, other kind of journalist perhaps, and if you're in the marketing industry, you might want to check out POMA. It's a good resource. It's like $300 a year to be a member, but you have access to the industry in a way that's more focused than LinkedIn. I think I mentioned 2A or PA42A or PA2A.org. Sorry, that gets confused with the California one. Good group of people, as far as I'm aware. They do a lot of reposting and they kind of have one of these things that's like a channel that's there and it's doing stuff, but it's not trying to prove nothing. And when it's necessary or important, they're right on it. They've kept their channel active so that it's useful when they need it. It's not just a dead channel that they have to blow the dust off of and try to figure out how to use it. They're active enough to be able to, speed up whenever they need to. But at the same time, they're not putting so much effort into it that every day you're getting something useless or extra from them. Not extra like in a good way, like extra like wasting everybody's time. They're not doing that. Then we get Kellyanne Pigeon, yeah. So she's armed and feminine. I started learning about her back when GunTube started getting created, which must have been about the same time she started doing her thing, which is interesting. So she hit the scene in such a splash that she was really one of the first superstars. I'd say even the first superstar, actually the first superstar of Gunstreamer. Gunstreamer.org is a video hosting platform focused on gun-related stuff. It's called Gunstreamer, and it was created by an individual and a team, and his team out of Salt Lake City. We got an opportunity to meet them in Salt Lake City, I think a couple of times, and then a bunch of times at SHOT Show. Good people, good intent, good effort. Unfortunately, it just didn't continue, but it lasted 5 years or 4 years. It lasted a good while, and they had a focus on firearms, but they weren't appealing to the largest creators. So it gave regular people a chance to get on board and actually participate in a platform that wasn't dominated by people with so many resources and experience that it was just not even a fair game. And without even putting their thumb on the scales, Kelly came onto the scene with such a splash that she became the superstar of that platform. She still is. She's got more subs than me, which it's pretty tough to do because I'm pretty awesome and I'm giant on the internet. But she's awesome, and she's involved in the DC project. She does an awesome job, and she's now super experienced because she's been playing the game for a bit. She's been teaching, educating both male and female, but then instructing or coaching female instructors, from what I understand, like giving people encouragement. And she's also very active in the DC project, from what I can tell from just seeing her involvement in the photos and stuff and the different places that they show up as a group. Then we get also, since we're in Pennsylvania, we can go, since we're in Pennsylvania, we can go to Philly, and that's where Maj is kind of housing or focusing Black Guns Matter. And that was an organization he started in 15, same time Tony started 2A for E, and the same time Phil started NAAGA, and Maj took his, and well, all three of those guys took them in a different direction. Maj is focused on Philly. He took it out and went kind of national with some of the Let's Teach impromptu gun courses and the Second Amendment awareness, but now moved back to Philly and is offering courses from phlebotomy to life skills and things like that. So offering a true community center with this like initial focus on firearms and offering firearms education, and then growing into more of a community center type of thing, which again, we were chatting about this in Every Second Matters chat earlier today, that we can sit around and go, wouldn't it be nice if, or they should have done this, or wouldn't it be great if resources were allocated a different way? But one of the things we can also do is champion those folks who are out there accomplishing things in new ways that are useful. And again, creating a community center type of facility based on from the initial focus on firearms education, I just think is super cool and inspirational for others in the community. All right, so that's, again, the 50 States of 2A booklet we put together to attempt to take some of the stuff from the Minuteman University website and put it into a paper format, a book format, so that if someone's in a live conversation or doing some kind of research or something, you've got hopefully available handily a bunch of information about the states. And once you've kind of perused it a few times, you don't have to memorize anything. You can just remember, oh, that's the kind of stuff that's in here. And if I remember right, it is in here. I think I kind of alluded to it earlier. In some of the states where there's just not so much stuff to include, we added other things. In this case, hunting organizations, sort of a history from 1887 up until the last one that I'm aware of being created, Quail Forever, in 2005. Again, something that most people probably aren't going to be familiar with. Even if you're a hunter, you might not know about bird and deer and all the different kinds of hunting and the hunting throughout time. So it's just a way to kind of offer a bunch of stuff in a handy resource and get the Second Amendment out there in interesting and useful ways. So I'll quit screen sharing there. We'll see if I don't think anybody really showed up tonight. So I don't know if it's because I posted this thing late or if the 2A Tuesday just doesn't but I do appreciate the people that showed up live, even though I only got about a dozen chats altogether here. We've got the poll to take a look at. I guess I was going to do this. The poll is now at 6 votes, another indication that we don't have too many people showing up tonight. I'm just describing that to the people that are listening in the future. You guys know that there's nobody here. California and New York both got 1 vote based on their bad gun laws. And then Oregon and Washington both got, I guess, 2 votes based on their bad gun laws. So we have to now determine if it's going to be Oregon or Washington. So what I'm going to do is, you guessed it, I'm going to end this poll right here, right now. Nobody's going anywhere. I'm going to end this poll. In addition, I'm going to edit this video. When I edit this video, I'm going to be able to record for history. Nobody's going to be able to duck away from this or act like it didn't happen. We're going to put the results of the poll right here for everybody to see so that they know, and the world in the future will know, that y'all just voted for 2 states with a tie. And ties aren't realistic. There's no such thing as a tie in nature. So we're going to eventually remove this and then go to here. And now that I've tidied that up so I don't have to do it later, we're going to go back to this chat. Mark is saying that Middleton, just a stone throw, skip away from 3 Mile Island. Oh, interesting. That's one way to mute the cough and then not turn the mute back on. I think it was on this show. I'm almost positive it was on this show, not this particular show, but on the Daily Gun Show. Years messaged. I mean, maybe in the 800s or something, maybe in the 1200s. No, it can't be in the 1200s. Like in the 800s, like way before 1000, maybe. I can remember having a conversation about 3 Mile Island, and I forgot what started it, and I ended up, either I did or somebody else did some really quick research, and I ended up finding a video that was super interesting. And the summary of it is, if people don't know what 3 Mile Island is, it was a nuclear power plant that had an issue in the olden days, and I think it might have been our first issue with a nuclear power plant ever. So everybody didn't know how to react, and the same way that people react in mass when they're not familiar with what to do, that happened. So, I need to go over here and end this poll. So anyway, 3 Mile Island was pretty interesting situation, and sorry, I'm talking and typing and it ain't working. And I forget what started the conversation with us even looking into this 3 Mile Island, but the results was the 3 Mile Island, the accident and the causes from it ended up having to do with the fact that they hired people who were Navy nuclear submarine operators. And it's just a kind of a, no one thought about it, but there's a difference between a nuclear submarine's reactor and a regular reactor. In a nutshell, a nuclear submarine is in the ocean, so it doesn't have to worry the same about cooling. It's a different cooling situation. So everyone just assumed that because these people are familiar with one reactor, they're going to be familiar with all reactors, and they weren't wrong. It's not like they weren't doing their jobs. It's just that the way that they react to issues was different because they had this Navy or whatever protocol. And once they started to go through and figure out, backwards engineer the problems and the issues and the consequences and stuff, it turned into a really neat study on the whole why it was a problem, but also I don't know if they discovered it at that point or used it for the first time, but instead of finding the person who caused the problem and saying, aha, now you're fired, instead they found the person that caused the problem and said, thank you. Because instead of hiding, pushing this button instead of that button, or I forget what the actual issue was. It was like ignoring a warning sign instead of running through on every warning sign because they knew that they were used to seeing, they assumed that they were used to seeing a false warning or something. So by explaining the actual procedure, instead of trying to hide it to not get in trouble, they allowed them to actually figure out the cause of it all. And they came up with, or at least they were able to illustrate this strategy of, if they didn't come up with the strategy of appreciating the person who caused the problem, not obviously because they caused the problem, but because it allows them to then refine the process and make it future proof, or, that problem to not be a problem in the future. Anyway, I thought that was kind of neat. And that's my 3 Mile Island story. There's a much better summary of it somewhere online. We've got 3 votes. I would suspect if we can get, how many votes were there before? Technically, there were 6 votes before. So if we can get to 5 votes, that would do it. We're at 3 votes already. So is it even possible? Does anyone even have any ambition to vote for Oregon now that its tables are turned and you have to vote on either Oregon or Washington? It seems as though no one is willing to stand up. Okay, except for that person. So now how many votes do we have to wait for here? 6 votes? If we're waiting for 6 votes, we would barely get a tie again. And in that case, that's it. That's the end of this whole thing. If we don't get a vote again, or if we don't get the same, well, now we've got, this is impossible. Everyone thought that there might be some stress in your lives. You don't even know the stress of not knowing which state we might feature next week on 2A Tuesday. I can't deal. So we're going to go talk about Timothy Wheeler while y'all vote and try to decide this like gentlemen and gentle ladies. Through the poll, of course. Through the poll. So we're going to go take a look at Timothy Wheeler, Dr. Timothy Wheeler. He is an MD, and there must be a lot of people with his name. So now I'm starting to fall asleep. We're going to go over to what do you call this place? Minuteman University. And we're going to go find the doctors of Minuteman University, which are somewhere down over here. Attorneys, politicians, researchers. I thought I had doctors. I'm going to look over here. Resources, lobby, activists. I thought I had doctors. Am I crazy? Let me put up here, doctor. Two A doctors. Yeah, what's going on with this? All right, so now if we go to Dr. Timothy Wheeler. 1993, he founded Doctors for Responsible Gun Ownership, DRGO, which in 1996 helped defund the CDC for its gun control spending, which I believe was this guy, Dr. Fiara. So anyway, Dr. Wheeler then started the DRGO. And then helped get the Dickey Amendment. And the Dickey Amendment is when those doctors prevented the CDC from doing gun control research. So in 93, they created Doctors for Responsible Gun Ownership. A couple of years later, the CDC was found to be funding tainted research for, in favor of gun control with taxpayer dollars. And then it was being cited as good because it was coming from the CDC instead of being impartial and accurate. So they helped create the Dickey Amendment, which was an appropriation bill, whatever that means, to stop funding of the CDC. And now every once in a while you hear, especially when Hillary was campaigning, she would say, the CDC is prevented from doing research because of the gun lobby. And the gun lobby is these like 4 doctors funded by JPFO or maybe Second Amendment Foundation probably, or just because they're doctors, maybe they didn't even need funding. They would be at the Gun Rights Policy Conference every year. So I'm not really sure of the total origin there. But whatever, it was basically 4 dudes and some backing who effectively stopped the CDC from being able to be recklessly spending taxpayers' dollars to create, narratives on, basically that's where we get a couple of the, if you've got a gun, you're more likely to be in an accident with a gun, because they handpick data and only look at certain things and then go, oh, well, if we can extrapolate this from this handpicked data, that's kind of, so they use some pretty poor stuff. And some bunch of doctors were able to get together, and with their awareness or their reputation and their ability to articulate the situation, I guess I can move Mark's thing so you can see the cartoon I made. Dr. Timothy Wheeler was instrumental, and I'm trying to keep yawning. I guess I'm falling asleep, but I think he may have passed. For some reason, I feel like he may have passed, but I might be thinking of a different doctor, in which case, I apologize. So I'm here to make aware, not necessarily offer a lecture. All right, so Patriot is saying good evening. Thanks for that. There's no hashtag going tonight. I'm about to run it out because we're just about an hour. If you haven't noticed, I run the Monday shows, especially when there's an interview. I'll run the Monday show on the big channel. The Wednesday show with the tactical quiz, I run that on the big channel. And then Friday with the weekly wrap-up, I run that on the big channel. These Tuesdays and Thursday shows are about 2A, and they're focused on the week. And then the Thursday show focused on training and travel, or alternately, or both, right? I don't necessarily run those on the big channel. And I don't need tonight. Like, my goal isn't to sit here and rant, but I do want to include things like a focus on each state, a focus on Second Amendment advocates, a focus on an organization each week. And, this is my same as anybody doing push-ups every week or going to the range and practicing. The bigger shows we can put more time and effort into and more attention. So these are still getting stuff done. We're creating, for people that are listening to this, you're getting something that's hopefully useful, interesting, or if not, repetitive on some data that's useful. Maybe not like useful immediately, I guess what I'm saying, but like at least it's throwing some data into the archives. And if you ever need to reclaim it, you can go find it. which is at least to some extent useful, as opposed to crying about how, a million other things that could be crying about. All right. Anyway, with that said, thanks, Patriot, for joining in. But we were really just waiting to get a poll result on which state to look at next week. I could not stop yawning. Do I even have any water left? I'm going to play this commercial, and then you all can take a break, and I'm going to drink the hell out of whatever water I got left here. Maybe that'll keep me awake for the rest of the show. We make t-shirts. We just put up a new Mac t-shirt, a Mac 10 disassembled type of t-shirt. We got some more t-shirts on the way, but and more designs for t-shirts on the way, but you can shove those on mugs and other things, as you'll soon discover.
Hey, did you know that you could help support our future projects and let everyone know you're a fan of what we do? Check out our print-on-demand store. We have a tab here on YouTube. When you click on it, you can choose from a bunch of different items we have, shirts and posters and coffee mugs. Click on the one you like. When you find the design you want to put on it, choose a color and a size if it's appropriate. And when you purchase these items, a portion goes to help fund our future projects. We really do appreciate your support. You get some cool stuff. When you get that stuff, post pictures here and on other platforms, and we'll hook you up next time you order from our Gear website store. Thank you for your support of gunwebsites.com.
All right, so I'm a little bit more hydrated, and thanks to Patriot saying he does that every channel for the YouTubes and the spiders to engage with the stuff out there. So thanks for that. Yeah, so we're going to have Washington next week. Oh man, another yawn is. I don't really drink coffee that much. Every once in a while, I'll drink like a cup of coffee in the morning now, and then I don't drink any coffee. So my late night span is suffering. When will the 7.62 poster be available, or am I overlooking it? No, I don't have that available. I never actually finished it. I've just been like alluding to that. I'm trying to figure out when I can try to like steal some time away to do a buyer's guide, kind of get some pictures and assemble some stuff from the AK stuff. I'm getting close to being able to do that, but see, PayPal makes you report over anything over 600. Someone sent me something as a thanks. No, PayPal's. Oh yeah. Well, I get a lot of my stuff from projects and things through PayPal. So I hit the 700 a long time ago. So yeah, I mean, I'm sure, but I don't know if that's new or not. I don't know what the threshold is on it. I've had PayPal for a long, long time. Let's see. So as far as the 7.62 poster, I just need to break some time away, but it's not a priority. I've just got a couple other projects that, are imminent or taking priority, but, yeah, that's where it's at. I'm working with Alan Anchor, so we'll be doing something there, and potentially we'll be able to get at least a sample or two before, even if it's before the prime time one is ready. But right now, the only posters that are over there at the Spreadshirt thing are the, whatever's over there is over there. I don't remember exactly which ones because it's too late. I'm getting tired. Let's see. It used to be 20,000. One of those things Biden pushed for, changed it to 6. Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, we got 7,000 more IRS agents, so I don't have to worrying about it. Your audit will help you figure all that stuff out. So without getting into all of that, we'll say thanks again for the people that showed up live. And I was just thinking about it. I started doing the Every Second Matters. That was an hour. Then I jumped on Ghosts, and that was a while. And then I went into barbecues, and then I went into this one. So I didn't even eat nothing today. And it's probably half the reason I'm loopy at this point. But I definitely didn't drink no coffee. I've just been drinking water this whole time. So with that, we're ending this one. Tomorrow is the tactical quiz. Tomorrow during the day is Cape Gun Works. They go live. It's a gun shop in Massachusetts. Pretty fun show to listen to. They're going to be, I forget what time, 3 o'clock? No, I don't know what time. And then Barbecue does his show. I forget which one is first now. Then there's some other stuff. You got Chris from the 740 doing his show tomorrow. Sometimes Roll Call does his show. Night Strike just said, screw it. I'm doing my show on Wednesday this week because I don't care. And then later on in the day, we do the tactical quiz. If he feels like it, there's a mouse party. So in the middle of the night, when everybody else isn't expecting it, Foss will go live and have a non-scripted place for people to hang out live and chat about. Often we talk about guns, but whatever. Let's see. They're debating whether Delaware is real. Nope, it is not real. It's a fake state. So with that, we will end it again. Next week, stay tuned to Michigan. And, well, I'll just say thanks again to Daniel. I know you're getting some shit over there from PayPal or whatever, but I appreciate the support for the channel. And with that, oh, I should also tell you that I got my, you sent an email in for that thing. I got the response that I got approved. So appreciate whatever you said on that email or whatever. I got approved for that. So it's something where I can try to sell some pictures. So I'm going to see if I can't sell some pictures to this thing. Interested in checking out the Cape Gunworks. Yeah, you'll like it. He can, he's able to react to questions that come in randomly from the radio, so from the telephone, and answer without being a shill or some kind of repeater, you know, echo, and without necessarily, at least, I mean, maybe I'm a little bit biased, but he doesn't bring everything to 2A. Like, I'll bring everything to 2A because I don't care. Like, I don't care about nothing else. So if you ask me about a revolver, it'll probably end up at 2A after a minute. Toby can talk about whatever. So it's probably more interesting for regular people than some of this 2A stuff. But it does touch 2A. And I think that's some of the best stuff about it, is that he's able to approach 2A without preaching or harping on it. And because of his reach and where it is, it's pretty interesting. So it's worth checking out. All right, well, again, oh, now we're at a tie. So you know what? I don't know what I'm going to do now. So now we have to do something else about this, but it ain't going to be tonight. So normally, you people that show up live get to determine the fate of next week. You have not done that this week. I've given you 2 efforts to do it, and you've squandered both of them into a tie. A lot of people like ties. They think, oh, nobody lost. We both won. Well, fuck that. Neither one of you won. You both lost, and you ruined it for everybody. Let's think of the people who are working. There's some lady who's trying to make enough money to keep all of these kids fed, and she's got a sick husband, and she's working 3 or 4 jobs. So what she does during the night to stay awake during this 3rd job is listen to this show. And this whole show, she's been going by trying to figure out which one of these states is going to win. That was the only thing in her whole life that she had going on this whole week. I mean, she has other things going on, but this week, this is all she had. And because you people squandered it, she's sad. She's probably crying. She probably went into the, I don't know, not the bathroom, but like into that little side room next to the door or whatever, and then was sitting on that place where you put your suitcase, and she's probably sitting there crying now because there was no decision. It was basically effectively nothing. It's like if this show didn't even happen. Oh, this is horrible. Never has this happened in the history of polls. I know this never happens to Gizzard's chats. That's for sure. The CCW chat from Rick will be on tomorrow. The chat, he does his shooting with disabilities on Wednesday. I always forget to mention Rick because I don't watch Rick anymore, but I forget. But yeah, thanks for that. I think his is during the day, right? Or am I crazy? All right. Well, thanks again for everybody showing up. And we're now going to have a commercial. Don't think of just how sad that one lady is who's got her 3rd job and she's trying to take care of her sick husband and all those kids. And not the fact that she's got a bunch of orphan kids that she's taking care of for her sick niece also. But think about all the other people out there that have other kind of jobs. Somebody was about to do something next to something really sharp, and then because there was not a resolution to this poll, they might get injured. So I'm not saying that you people are dangerous, but it's reckless the way you don't come up with a decision. Even after all this scolding, you would feel like after all this scolding, somebody would have come up with at least 1 vote. But nope, not in this show, not with this audience tonight. Oh, it's horrible. So with that, we're just going to have to end it on this. I guess sometimes that's how it has to end. This is how it's ending. We're watching the poll real time. So everyone is watching everyone not do anything about it. Literally, everyone's watching nobody do nothing. So now we're going to end the pain of watching nobody do nothing to end this. I'm going to go ask somebody else. Maybe somebody else's chat. Which state they would pick. Oh, wait. Woods is saying, can I vote someone's proxy? Yeah, I already authorized that a long time ago. So now we finally have Oregon. So obviously G23 somehow was awakened and called somebody or something happened because now all of a sudden Oregon won. So that little old lady, she's not an old lady. She's a young lady, actually. That lady now, maybe she's smiling. Maybe she giggles a little bit because really she wanted Oregon to win. So nice job. Very, very well done. We're going to end it now before somebody ruins it. And then we'll be able to say next week, we'll be talking about the state of Oregon. If you've got an idea for which state I should replace Oregon in this pile with, so we can have 4 states to choose from, feel free. If you've got ideas for Second Amendment activists to feature on Tuesday, feel free to throw that in the comments wherever you want. Or if you've got a specific gun owners' rights group that's worth checking out next week, we'll do that as well. Now I'm definitely ending it because it's over an hour and we finally have the resolution we look for. Everyone is happy.
Tonight's episode, The Ripoff. Tonight's episode, Photo Finish. Tonight's episode, That Was No Lady.
What happened to the lady?
Tonight's episode, Triangle of Terror. Tonight's episode, Murder by the Numbers.
I feel like the lady might have got murdered at the end of the show. So stay tuned to the next episode and find out.
Thank you for supporting our projects. If you'd like to buy us a cup of coffee, check out our Patreon channel.
The guys and gals at gunwebsites.com encourage you to take a CCW class every year, practice at least once a month, and carry every day. Thank you for watching gunwebsites.com. Do 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 do.